Today we will speak on Aristotle's take on virtue ethics by Gio Ty Les Just. Let's start with the basic idea of virtue ethics. Generally speaking, virtue ethics is relatively a broad term which emphasizes the role of character and virtue in philosophy. Basically, virtue tells us to act as a virtuous person would in any given situation. It tells us to really focus on the sort of person we should strive to be. Good people are those who live virtuously. In all, it is about the whole of a person's life, not the little and various episodes of our lives. In the mind of Aristotle, being a virtuous person is someone who has ideal traits for a person's character. Furthermore, these traits first come from natural and internal tendencies, but then will eventually become stable or habits. Another way to put virtue is it is a learned deposition or inclination tendency that in turn tells us to reason and act in a certain manner. For example, a friendly person is someone who tends to act in obviously a friendly manner regularly. Furthermore, Aristotle says that virtue is an intermediate between two extremes, which really means something of excess and something of deficiency. So, for example, take bravery. Bravery is the intermediate between cowardliness and rashness. A coward is afraid, often and usually refrains from acting in ways that they really should, such as retreating from the battle scene when he or she should go toward the scene. A rash person is such who has too little fear and thus acts unnecessarily and acts in ways he or she must not. Therefore, bravery is in between these two extremes. Another example which Aristotle gives reference to is temperance. Pleasures of our senses, such as eating and sex, which is an intermediate of pleasure and pain. This involves eating well and having sex at appropriate times. In other words, staying away from eating too much versus too little, having no sex versus having sex too much. Another example Aristotle brings up is generosity, which is the intermediate between giving and taking money. A common problem our society worries about and struggles with every day. The excess is wasting money versus giving up none of it and being ungenerous, basically. So how can we become virtuous and achieve character of virtue? Aristotle says that virtue must be learned, and we do so through practice. So constantly try to think before acting and act in the way that seems to be the good way. And to learn, we must often see and account for how others act, whether those people are our parents, friends, brothers, sisters, or complete strangers. Once we see others do good, we get a better perspective of what it means to live virtuously. A common criticism arises from this phenomena and in virtue ethics as a whole. First, there is no clear guidance from Aristotle in regard to a virtuous life on what to do in any given moral dilemma. In other words, a total virtuous person should know what to do in any given situation and pick the good decisions and perform that good rather than the bad decision. Thus, we would this person as an acceptable role model. However, there is no general agreement on what the virtues are or how one must act. Furthermore, decisions may differ in any given situation depending on external environments like a person's culture. Nevertheless, virtue ethics leads to many positives, including a society that thinks and pursues justice, cares for others and the self, and the satisfaction of always pursuing this kind of society for success. Thus, if we want to be and live happier, we must constantly be mindful of our natural tendencies. Furthermore, we must constantly try to see good in others, do good things, and sooner or later it will become a habit. Moreover, this habit will be seen and learned by others, creating a cycle of virtuous living, which is a successful, healthy lifestyle.